So I can sit here all day and tell you how crazy the market is right now, and I'm sure you guys would watch, but you never actually see any data about what's going on. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the actual real numbers of somebody who sold their house in this market. And we're not just talking about any house. We're talking an extremely high demanded house in a very desirable area. So let's find out if this market is truly as crazy as people are making it seem, or if it's just, people making it crazier than it actually is. So let me explain the situation before we dive into the numbers. The house in question is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the 1,500 square foot range area. It was only built a few years ago, so it still feels very new. The neighborhood feels very new. Granite countertops, nice tile flooring throughout. It was a perfect combination for those seeking a newer house. That way it wouldn't break down, and it has a warranty still, but didn't want to wait 9 to 12 months to even a year and a half of build time that new builders are taking for. My marketing approach to this property was as follows. Let's take really professional photography to really make the photos stand out, which, by the way, that's like the common thing to do now. It doesn't make me fancy for taking professional photography. It's only a few $100. It doesn't make me special. These people wanted to only show it for the weekend. They wanted to limit their exposure with COVID and people going in and out of the house, especially with them having a young baby. So what I did is I listed it on Thursday, but I had it so no one can show the property until the weekend. You're probably wondering, well, why didn't you just wait till the weekend to list it? Well, I wanted to build anticipation for the house. I wanted to, have people see it, get sent, the email notification, text notifications to all the buyers out there to get notified Thursday and Friday. That way they text their realtor, they email their realtor, and they start scheduling their showings for the weekend. And my plan worked. By Friday evening, I had basically Saturday all booked out and some of Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday, I instructed my clients to leave, go to their family's house and come back at 5 or 6. That way the house was vacant for those who went in and out, right? They didn't have to worry about waiting outside for people or anything crazy like that. So the weekend passed, and after the weekend, we received a total of 6 offers. Initially, we only had about 4 offers that hit the table, but we received 2 Sunday and Monday. So we listed the property at $280,000. And if the market was as crazy as people are making it seem, you would assume it would be selling for $350, $340, crazy cash buyers, etc., etc. Well, one thing I told my clients that I predicted is I think we're in a shift right now where, yes, it is still crazy, but it is not that crazy anymore. So for those who are thinking about selling their house, really, I don't know if it's going to go up or down from here, but I do see the demand kind of starting to waver down. And well, I was kind of right. 4 to 6 offers, it seems like a lot, but even a month ago, 2 months ago, there was a lot of situations here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, especially that same area that I was taking buyers to, make offers on, having 20, 25, even 30 offers. Let me start off with the ones that automatically we wrote off, okay? One of the offers we got came in scanned, which, it's not a big deal, but majority of the offers we got came in a professional, like DigiSign or DocuSign format where everything was nice, clean, eligible. The first contract we immediately wrote off came in like scanned and everything was kind of crooked, and which is interesting because the signatures were digital, but for some reason they were printed and scanned, so it looked kind of off. The buyer was an FHA buyer, which unfortunately right now in this housing market, a lot of people are looking down on FHA buyers and towards conventional, but I try to instruct my clients that it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just whoever gives us the best deal. These people made an offer at list price $280,000. They were able to pay their own closing costs, but they came in right at list price. Like, they didn't really give any wiggle room. And to me, this is a good example of somebody who doesn't understand the marketplace. Like, maybe in another market, coming in at list price would have been just fine, but had the person called me or called my team to communicate how many offers we had, the second they would have found out that we had more than 3 or 4 offers, they shouldn't have come in at list price. So the second one we wrote off was one that came in very last minute. It came in $10,000 above value, which is something that we like because, we understood the market. So they were very aware of the market. It was an FHA buyer. However, one thing that we noticed that they did is on the MLS, there's a way where you can put if the refrigerator is included, if the washer and the dryer are included, right? Well, we didn't have the refrigerator, washer, or dryer. This offer included all 3 to be left with the house. Now, Normally, if the buyer has some leverage, I get it. They're gonna. However, this to me showed a lack of attention to detail from the agent and its buyers. Why would they include which, by the way, was a very nice refrigerator, washer, and dryer. If the seller had the intention to leave those three behind, they would have put it on the MLS specifically. We're gonna leave these things behind. We didn't. So them including that seemed a little off-putting, and it was off-putting for my clients. There were some details on the MLS that we put to make sure that they include. They didn't regard that at all. And finally, they asked for 2.5% of closing costs. And they thought by adding 10,000 above the value that they were going to somehow make up for that. Now, out of the 6 offers we got, this is the only one that asked for closing costs. So I feel bad for these people because it seems like in a normal market, this would have been an amazing offer. But the fact of the matter is you have to pay your own closing costs to even be considered nowadays. So do you guys start to notice that it's not necessarily one glaring issue that writes you off? It's a combination of multiple things that add up that eventually eliminate you from the race. Once we wrote those 2 off, there was 4 left. By the time I went to go talk to my client on the Monday afternoon, one of them actually rescinded their offer, which was fine because it wasn't the best offer. I think it was only $4,000 above list price, and they were paying their own closing costs, but everyone else was around the $290 mark. The 3 that were left were the top 2 were pretty similar. They were at $290. One was conventional, one was FHA. There was one key difference between the 2, which I'll tell you right now, but let's talk about third place right now, which is an offer that came in at $280 or $281 or $282. It was like around $280, which already kind of didn't make it seem like as a competitor, but it was conventional and it was very low, no closing costs added. They paid attention to detail, even though the listing agent was calling us and telling us, hey, we're willing to come in higher, we're willing to make this work. Well, my thought is, why didn't your client make a higher offer initially instead of telling us after the fact we can make this work? They actually come in later. Stay tuned for that. We obviously started focusing on the top 2, which they were both at $290 and they were pretty competitive. One of them actually waived their appraisal, meaning that if the house doesn't come in at value with the appraisal, they're either going to make up the difference or cancel and not get their deposit back. The second one didn't waive their appraisal, the conventional one. However, they put a clause in that said, hey, if it doesn't appraise up to $290, we'll come up with the difference up to $5,000. So if it comes in at $285, we'll do $290, but we're going to cap it at $290, right? So if it comes in at $288, we're only going to go to $2,000 to $290. If it comes in at $281 or $282, we're only going to $287 to $88. That was a conventional one. The FHA one waived their appraisal. My client immediately loved the conventional offer. Now, it doesn't guarantee that they were going to get $290, but they love the buyer's ability to say, you know what, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. If the appraisal comes in low, we'll give you another $5K to make up the difference. We love that. They were super well pre-qualified. I talked to the lender. Everything seems super solid with this client. And one thing we liked about this offer too is they paid attention to the details. They put this note that I put on the MLS. They made sure not to include the washer or dryer, although they did ask for the refrigerator. They made their inspections nice and clean. They were going to order the appraisal right away. Just everything was so perfect about the situation. However, we countered them on like minor items, like, we asked for a 7-day post-possession, other items like that. When I gave them the counter the evening of Monday afternoon, Monday evening, the buyer's agent tells me, great, I'll present it to them and they'll see what they say. We'll see what they respond. That immediately triggered something in my gut. I thought your clients were in love with this house. We're basically accepting your offer. We're just tweaking a few minor things. Why is it we'll see and not great, this will work? I get it. Agents aren't supposed to speak on behalf of their clients and they're not supposed to say, well, let's go for it. We're going to get the sign right away. But that pessimistic, I kind of had a feeling something was going to go off. They had a response time till noon the next day. I called the agent on like 11 or 10, no response. And I called my assistant and I was like, you know what? Something's off here. I just have a feeling. And what do you know? Noon passes. I finally get a hold of them and they say, well, it turns out that the wife didn't agree. I can't get a hold of the husband, etc. They're just go ahead and move on because we're not going to be able to get it done. To me, it sounds like they had buyer's remorse. They can make excuses that one agreed, one didn't. When you basically get your offer accepted and you say, no, I'm okay, that's buyer's remorse. So we said, okay, it is what it is. we called back not the FHA buyer, but the conventional buyer that came in really below, you know, the one we wrote off, third place one. I reached out to them saying, hey, can you guys come to 290 and can you do something similar to that $5,000 thing we talked about? They said yes, and it was great. We sent them a counter. And lo and behold, guess what happened? Agent calls me eventually. It was literally a few hours ago saying, hey, you know what? The buyer spoke with her mother, and her mother really recommends that, you know, we shouldn't buy over appraised value. You know, we're going to buy it whatever it appraises at. We'll go to 290, but we're not going to do any kind of waiver, or we're not going to say we'll give you a certain amount above the value. And I said, so basically, you're not doing anything special. You're just going 10K above, and you're not, you know, you're not going to do anything with the appraisal. And they said, and the buyer's agent was kind of disappointed, saying, yeah, we are. Once again, we get another buyer who seemed to be very ready to do what it takes, but then gets cold feet, right? So we ended up going with the FHA offer, and I believe they're going to accept our offer right now. So we're going to go with them, and they're waiving their appraisal contingency, which means that if it doesn't come in at the value of 290, they're going to come up with the difference. So what was the common thing between these offers that we're willing to accept? They were all willing to go above value. They all paid their own closing costs. They all showed an enthusiasm for the house, which really goes a long way with these sellers, because they love seeing that their house that they've been living in is going to go to someone that's going to love it just as the same. Even when the agent includes a little note about, oh my gosh, my client loved the house. This is the one, you know, whatever. I don't know however they demonstrate that. It really goes a long way with the seller. They all showed us that. And lastly, they all were willing to do something strategic with the seller to at least show the effort that if there was some kind of issue with the appraisal, there's going to be some kind of effort to make them a little more money. Now, there was no crazy cash buyers. There was no crazy situation where it sold 50.
I don't understand.
Whoa, that was crazy. There was no crazy buyer that came in 50 or 100,000 above value. It was pretty competitive, but not too competitive. So I hope this gives you guys some hope. It's not as crazy as it was maybe a month or 2 months ago. Now, of course, there's some states like California that is always crazy. My heart goes out to you guys. Everywhere else, it seems to be chilling out a little bit more. And if you look in between the lines, the fact that 2 of the top 3 buyers had cold feet really shows me something. What it's showing me is that buyers are being pushed to buy right now, either by the media or either by their own realtors or their own lenders or people telling them it's a good time to buy. They're being pushed to buy, and they're not mentally and maybe financially ready to buy right now. So what I'm predicting is, I don't know if this is a good indication. It probably is not a good stat to look at, but out of my 6 offers, right, 1 actually rescinded their offer. So 3 out of 6 of them had cold feet at some point, right? So let's say that's 50%. 50% of the buyer pool right now is being pushed to buy, is being, you know, not 100% all in, which I think they're slowly but surely in the next coming months, they're going to start to trickle away. They're going to start figuring out, hey, you know, maybe we don't want a house. Eventually, as they slowly start trickling away, buyer demand should start dropping, and the inventory should start picking up. So we're going to start start seeing a shift in the market where, hey, buyer demand is going down, but the listings are going up. So now we're going to start seeing less and less this whole competitive situation. And even if you do end up getting a house, make sure you're comfortable with the offer you're making. If you're only making an offer, which I believe is the case for 3 out of 6 of these buyers, they only made the offer that their realtor recommended, or the realtor is pushing them to do, or the lender's recommending and their lender's pushing them to do, then you're gonna fail, because even if you're doing something and you do it just because, like, let's just try it, eventually that's going to eat you alive. For them, they backed out during this process, but I've had people that push through it and they go, oh, fine, I'll just ignore it. I'm going to buy still. And like halfway through the transaction, they completely call me freaking out that they want to back out. So you want to make sure that you're making offers you're comfortable with. You want to make sure you're all in. And most importantly, you don't need to go 20, 30, 40K above value. You just need to show the seller you're willing to work with them and be professional and show enthusiasm.